I'm going to call the meeting to order. I want to thank all of you for coming, and I want to ask your forbearance and your patience. This is our first Zoom meeting. John, I need to mute everyone. What? Isn't there a way?
I don't know if you can hear me, but I don't think it's good to mute Susan.
Yeah, you muted yourself, Susan.
Okay, now I'm not. Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Okay. So this is our first Zoom meeting, and it's going to be a learning experience for every one of us, especially for me. So please be patient. I want to make sure that our officers are introduced, that are here on board. Kathy Hyatt is our secretary. Raise your hand, Kathy. Let's see, where's Rosamond is our treasurer. Raise your hand. And Becca Fielding Miller is right there, and she is our VP. So this is going to be a learning experience for all of us, including me. And if I miss something, please feel free to tell me in chat, or unmute yourself and tell me I've just missed something. I need your help, and I will not feel at all threatened or hurt or in any way, shape, or form. So please, we're all in this together. And does everyone know how to unmute yourself and mute yourself again? Everyone, do you know how to do that? Okay, I see. Okay, give me a reaction of thumbs up. Okay, I see some thumbs up. Some of you are doing it. Hi, Emily. You know how to, okay, thumbs up. Michelle Gomez, you know how to unmute yourself, right? Please. Okay, good. Okay, Danny. Okay, everybody. All right, I just want to make sure, and everybody knows how to use chat, right? And everyone knows, and you know that if you have to leave the meeting, you can say goodbye in chat if you want to. But if you you know, if you don't want to, just click off, and nobody's going to feel hurt. We'll be fine with it. So don't worry about it. We all know. And everyone knows that if you want to eat dinner, you know, you click off your video, right?
Yeah.
And
Hey, Susan.
you know, what?
Oh, I just want to add one thing about chat. Just so you guys know, there is an option to chat privately between members, but the host can see all of it at the end of the meeting. So
yes,
feel free to chat amongst one another, but yeah, what you say is not actually private.
Okay, right. Okay, so okay, yes, Doug, you can give a brief report. Okay. Oh, Michelle. Okay, Michelle, you have your hand up. Don is monitoring that. What? Yes, Michelle.
No, I only had my hand up because you asked us to show some indication that we knew.
Okay. All right. Okay. So some members have already emailed me some questions for tonight, Yvonne and some others. For the rest of you, please type in your questions in the chat, and we will get them to the, we are monitoring the chat, and we will be sure that we ask those questions. So Emily, I'd like to introduce Emily. Everyone, Nathan was not able to come tonight. He sends his regrets, but he graciously sent us Emily. So Emily is his policy advisor for Supervisor Fletcher, and she has volunteered to step in. And so we are going to welcome Emily to our meeting. Emily, you're on.
Great, thanks so much, Susan. And Supervisor Fletcher does send his apologies. today ended up being much more crazy than he expected, and so hopefully he'll be able to make another meeting. But in the meantime, I'm really glad that we've got Zoom, so we can continue our meetings and sharing all this information in such a time that's so crazy, and everything about our lives has just totally changed. So it's good to see everybody virtually via Zoom. And I just kind of wanted to give a little bit of an update and maybe answer a few questions that folks have, just kind of where we are. So Supervisor Fletcher and Chair Cox are on the Board of Supervisors COVID subcommittee, and so they are really our county public health officer is really the driving force among a lot of our local regulations. And so they have taken the lead in really responding on behalf of the board, figuring out what's going on in the community that needs to be responded to. So it's been a very dynamic situation. And this is, I just want to reflect, this is a new normal, and everybody is adjusting to what this means on a day-to-day basis. We're in an unprecedented time, and luckily, we've spent the month of April really emphasizing the need to stay at home. It's April 20th today, so and the numbers are looking good, that we are making progress in flattening the curve. We're making progress in being able to provide enough supplies for our hospitals, particularly enough beds and ventilators, so that way we have capacity built into our system if there is a surge that does end up happening. And that's really been the emphasis of all these stay-at-home orders. Don't go to the parks, businesses closing. We needed to push pause on our economy, so that way we could provide some bandwidth and time for our healthcare system to really catch up. And just to kind of illustrate, just how dynamic this has been, over the weekend, we saw protests in Encinitas, in downtown. We've seen protests at Otay Mesa Detention Center as well, over the handling of inmates there. And, this is, people are getting frustrated and cooped up from being at home. And we're looking to that next phase. It's going to take some time to get there, but one of the key areas that we're focusing on, and we had some announcements earlier today, was on parks and our beaches. And so we're setting out a set of criteria. The county is in this position where we outline the minimum requirements that jurisdictions need to be able to meet. And if they're able to demonstrate that they can meet those requirements, then we can open up the park. So the county parks actually are open for the most part, but I imagine most of us live, in the incorporated cities, and a lot of cities just didn't feel like they had the capacity to maintain the physical distancing that's required to keep flattening that curve. So, we are starting to be ready to start to ease some of those restrictions. So cities are being asked to prepare plans for how they can meet our public health objectives. So, questions like, how can a city limit gatherings to just a household at the park? What is their plan for ensuring sanitation and hand washing stations? How will they enforce face covering requirements on staffing to ensure these requirements are met? So that's a real big focus of where we're at right now, with regards to the parks, because I know that's been a huge concern from a lot of folks, and then beaches as well. We really want to get them open. It's going to start getting hot later this week and into the next couple of weeks, and so actually all of our coastal mayors are working together on a regional approach as to how we lift these restrictions, because we wouldn't want to lift part, restrictions on beaches in one part of the county, and then you just have folks flocking there from all over. And so again, it's been a really wonderful action and coordination throughout our region to really help ensure that we're ready for this next phase when we're starting to open up the economy. We're asking businesses to start getting ready, understanding what that guidance on how businesses will maintain physical distancing, what is going to a restaurant look like. So we're not there yet, but we're in this preparation phase and in this phase of looking to reopening. And the reason why we've been so focused on this is because of the COVID, in addition to its public health impacts, has had some really significant economic impacts as well, that I know all of you care deeply about. So, kind of in closing for just my little spiel, April continues to be a really critical month. Just want to emphasize again the need to, stay at home if you are not an essential worker, maintain physical distancing. If you can, wear a face covering when you're in public. And, this is really an individual choice when it comes down to it. We're thinking and we're acting on behalf of all San Diegans and, everybody in our community. And, are we taking these steps together to, help protect our collective public health and help ensure that we're going to be able to get out of this as soon as is safely possible? And so that's really where we're at. So please, encourage you and your families to maintain physical distancing, keep strong through the month of April. It's been really a month of focus on maintaining social and physical distancing. And I'll just close by saying, our office is here. We're answering the phones. Answering questions. So I'll put my contact info in the chat if anybody wants to reach out to me directly after this. Really happy to do whatever we can to help, because this is a very stressful and uncertain time in our region. And so I want to thank you all for having me here today, and happy to answer a few questions, and I'll put my contact info in the chat. So thanks everybody.
Okay, Emily, let me ask you a few questions that have been emailed to me. How does the county plan to significantly expand our testing capabilities to meet the level required to move to a first phase opening of our economy? And how many tests per day would that require? That's the first part of the question.
So the governor has laid out 6 specific sectors that are kind of the governor's criteria for modifying our stay-at-home order. And one of those sectors is doing testing. It's doing being able to have these rapid tests, and it's also being able to track and effectively trace folks. So that way, when an infection, when someone's infected, and so that way you can stop that spread if that does happen. And so we are, I guess I unfortunately just have a very general answer, but we are working really hard to try to ramp this testing capabilities up locally. We are fortunate that we've got so many great biotech companies that are stepping into this space, but our county public health labs, as of my last check, we do about 200 tests per day in our county public health lab, and then the private companies that are local, they do about 23,000 tests per day, and those come back within 7 to 10 days after that test is done. So we've got some ways to go, and so this has been a key focus. We've got a a testing task force at the county, as well as at the state level. So this is an area of acute focus. And like I said, nothing's ready. We're not ready to modify any of these stay-at-home orders. We're just ready to start beginning to have those conversations of, what does that plan to modify these social stay-at-home orders look like?
So Emily, 7 to 10 days is really way too long of a time.
Yes. And so that's why this has been a key focus. I mean, this is just it's a national and likely an international issue that these are the supply chain for all these different reagents are quite congested, and everybody's trying to get the same types of products at the same time. So there's a lot of competition out there. So it's putting us, we're focused on this, and we understand that this is, really a key threshold to be able to open up our region.
It's critical. Michelle, I see that your hand is up. Just let me ask, what is the plan to build an adequate trace and tracking team? And how large does that team need to be to effectively contain the virus as we open our economy? And does that differ? Does the county differ from the state? And does it agree? Is it withholding? This is a different, I guess there's a difference between Dr. Wooten and Governor Gavin Newsom.
Yes. So so right now we've got about 100 county staff that are doing tracking and tracing and are part of this testing task force, like I mentioned, and that's been sufficient in small areas where we've got like hotspots, maybe our congregate living facilities, et cetera. But, this is an area where we're looking to ramp up. Ideas have been floated around, like, maybe we've closed, for example, the city libraries, we've closed the county libraries. Can we bring in other folks, from local government to help fulfill some of these roles? So, those are ongoing questions. Undoubtedly, yes, we do need to scale this up, and I'm unsure. I'd have to follow back up with you all on kind of the specifics for how many numbers.
Okay.
People.
Okay. All right. So, so this person asking the question said, I listen to the county update and the state update nearly every day, and the federal update occasionally. And she rarely hears the county public health leadership refer to how San Diego County is coordinating with the state. However, I do hear them refer to the federal guidelines frequently. Tell us how closely the county is working with Governor Newsom and his task force, and which government level has the most influence on our plans.
Yeah, so I would say that, we are following guidelines in certain cases that have been set by the CDC. For example, the CDC has set guidelines around testing protocol, and so that's a CDC guideline that we are following. But then we are also, and another CDC guideline that we are or we should be following is around, not conducting sweeps of homeless encampments, because the idea is that just people should just be left in their in their homes rather than being disrupted and moved all around. So that's CDC guidance. We're working very closely with, for example, the State Office of Emergency Services. So the State Office of Emergency Services has been really, really critical in helping procure personal protective equipment. So N95 masks, gowns, et cetera, for our healthcare workers, and then distributing those to the county, and then the county is in a position to distribute those to the hospitals based on need and based on usage. So I guess I'd say, we are working with all different government agencies. It just kind of depends on what the question is at hand. We're also, working and collaborating very closely with the California Department of Public Health. For example, like the state issued revised guidelines on how we should be treating COVID in congregate care facilities like our skilled nursing facilities and other senior residential facilities, which we all know has a really high rate of spread within those facilities. So there's been a good deal of coordination with our State Department of Public Health regarding that. So I guess it just depends on what there is.
So you have said that we need appropriate testing and tracking and tracing, but the beaches have been opened and you're not waiting. So you're not waiting for that by opening the beaches and the parks.
Well, it's everything is kind of predicated on, so like I said, we're just in the stages of creating plans for how do we open the parks, how do we open the beaches, and so we're not ready to set a timetable on that. We're just ready to, at this point in time, to say, let's think about what those next steps would be if we were to open our beaches and our parks up.
Okay, Michelle. Do you have a question? You have your hand raised?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I would like to know how the County Board of Supervisors is addressing the fact that the county sheriffs provided an escort to the beaches on Saturday in Encinitas for the protesters, and actually arrested people who were protesting at the Otay Mesa plant, who were protesting in support of the migrants that were being refused masks. They signed a document, was written in English, that basically made the Otay Mesa detention facility not responsible in case anything happened and they had used it. And when those migrants protested, they put them in solitary. So there were friends of mine that were out in their cars, maintaining the 6-foot distance, social distance, just in their cars, driving around, honking and putting up signs in their cars, and they were arrested and cited. And yet the county provided sheriff escorts to the white people who absolutely were not in their cars and were walking and bunched up in Encinitas and also in the city of San Diego in front of the Hall of Justice on Saturday. So what is being done about this, the differential treatment?
Michelle, thank you so much for bringing this up. This is definitely, not acceptable. And Supervisor Fletcher is very concerned about the fact that there's inconsistent enforcement, and there's inconsistent enforcement, like you're pointing out, of folks, protesting inhumane.
Brandon first.
Sorry. Of inhumane conditions at at the detention facility and folks in Encinitas. This is while Supervisor Fletcher definitely respects the right to free speech. this is a case of, all entities, all people are exercising their right of free speech, and there was not consistent enforcement. So I don't have any steps that we are taking, but this is on our radar as something that Supervisor Fletcher is very concerned about. And we do want to see consistent enforcement. So, and I think, with other things, with the sheriff in particular, he is his own elected official. And so there's just some kind of nuance as to what the Board of Supervisors can and cannot do with respect to the sheriff. So,
Okay.
but thank you for that question, Michelle.
Okay, Brandon. Okay, Brandon, you're next. Wait just a minute. Let me unmute you.
I think I'm
Okay,
okay.
go
Can you
ahead.
hear me?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
You're next.
Hello,
And
Emily.
then Daniel.
Thank you for coming. My name is Brandon McDonald. I'm the operations manager with an organization called Western Service Workers Association. I don't know if you've heard of us, but it's a membership association of some of the lowest paid workers in the county, and we run a self-help benefits program of emergency food and clothing and preventive medical care, non-emergency dental and legal care, and more. And the most common jobs that our members were doing was restaurant work, food service, hotel work, housekeeping, and they're pretty much dried up. And we read a newspaper story that said unemployment went up 10%, but we're finding 80% of the people that we're talking to either lost their jobs completely or had their hours cut. And frankly, this is an economic depression, and we're located in Logan Heights, but we really kind of cover the county. But from the members that we're seeing day by day, it's a depression like we've never seen. We've almost doubled the amount of food that we're distributing weekly, but we just can't keep enough in stock. And people racking up high utility bills and other legal problems. And on the one hand, our members are really outraged at the extent to which the federal government has, let the state and the counties and municipalities holding the bag. But we would like to know what the board is doing to deal with the economic disaster, to support low-income families right now. And in addition, we'd like to thank the board for, the moratorium on evictions, but at some point that's going to come to an end. And without help for like thousands of families, we're going to be in the streets or have our utilities shut off. And we'd like to know what the county is planning to do to help out with that situation, after those restrictions are lifted, but, while not leaving the landlords holding the bag. And, perhaps could you tell the state about the gravity of this problem and ask for their help?
Thanks so much for that, Brandon. And thanks for sharing info about your group and just about the pain that everybody is feeling, particularly the workers that you're working with. Like you mentioned, this is we're entering into a pandemic induced depression, recession, whatever terminology you want to use, and it is the impacts of this financially are unequal across our society. One of the first things that Supervisor Fletcher did once we were realizing that we're going to effectively shut down the California economy was start a partnership with the San Diego Foundation and a few other entities to fund rental and utility assistance for low-income workers. And so that program has been quite successful, but unfortunately the need is simply too great. And so this is, the funding comes in the door and goes straight out. So, I think that really speaks to the fact that San Diego of, April 20th, 2020 is very, very different than San Diego a year ago. So definitely more needs to be done. One of the, while the board hasn't decided to do any rental or fund any rental or utility assistance programs. Our supervisors Desmond and Jacob are bringing forward an item tomorrow to provide $5 million in loans to small businesses in the unincorporated area. And so while this only has a limited geographic reach and is just for certain entities, it's not insignificant, and hopefully that will have some impact. And I think it's a case where everybody is trying to step up in the ways that they can. We are definitely on the lookout for more ways that we can support folks. We've seen I think it's like almost 2 times as many folks that have applied for CalFresh through the county in the past month or so than it was a year ago. So the need is definitely there. Regarding
Emily, let me ask you on CalFresh, do you have to be, if you're undocumented, can you apply to CalFresh?
I am not sure. Let me check and get back to you.
That's an important point because those people need food too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing, folks are setting up a lot of different programs, and another one that the governor has set up is providing because undocumented immigrants are left out of all the federal packages. So the governor has set aside $75 million in state funding plus another $50 million in philanthropic funding, and at least $5 million will be going out to each region to fund community-based organizations. So this is going to be totally separate from the government, and this is all just to provide financial assistance to undocumented immigrants. So this money we will see some of this in San Diego County, which I think will be really, really important.
So perhaps Brandon and you two should have a meeting.
Yes. Brandon, regarding your other question regarding evictions, so this was a policy that, the county did not have and other local jurisdictions did not have the authority to do an eviction moratorium prior to the governor's executive order that allowed local governments to do an eviction moratorium. So that really created the pathway for us to have these initiatives at a local level, but they are limited. And so the counties, for example, just last through May 31st, which is the time frame of the governor's executive order. And so we are looking at whether we need to extend that further. What does that look like? Because there are ramifications kind of across the spectrum. If folks aren't paying rent right now and can't pay rent, and then all of a sudden rent is due and you've got 5-10 months of rent that are due at that point in time, that's just really, really significant amounts of money. So we're looking at what we have the ability to do. I think we've got at the state level, there's some assistance for landlords through their lenders, but again, it's some big financial questions about how do we navigate this very tricky situation without while keeping people housed and without crumbling the fabric of our society. So hopefully more to come on that, because that's what we don't want right now is more people to get kicked out of their houses.
Okay, so Emily, you and Brandon will be meeting, and so right now, Daniel Beeman, Daniel, you had your hand raised.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to ask you. You were talking about the county parks, and I was hoping to go out to one of my favorite ones out there in the desert. I'm sorry, I get dyslexia, so I forget the name, but the one way out in the desert, the county park there with the springs. And when I went to the website, it said it was closed. And I'm wondering, has it been opened up, or when will it be opened up to go and use it and also to go camping?
Yeah, so camping may be a little bit further off at this point in time, just because, like I said, we're in these early stages of figuring out how we can use shared spaces. Like I mentioned, that playgrounds are closed, so we're still in these early stages of figuring out how can we use shared facilities like at a campground, while maintaining all of the necessary public health guidelines. So to clarify on county parks for the most part are still open. Again, double check the website. But what has happened at county parks is that we have closed the parking lots at the county parks, with the intention that these parks are only accessible to those who live in the neighborhood of that park. So that was the strategy that the county took, and this applied to all parks throughout San Diego County, not just the county parks. That we were really trying to restrict the number of people who were driving to places like Balboa Park or whatnot to out to Julian or what have you, and inadvertently maybe overburdening that healthcare system in those places, or further contributing to COVID spread. So that's kind of some of the nuance on the county parks, and kind of TBD on camping, unfortunately. Oh, Susan, I think you're on mute.
Tara Lawson. Tara, you had a question, Tara?
So sorry. Thank you. Hi, Susan. Hi, everyone. I actually just wanted to say hello. I have to go put my daughter to bed. I'm going to try to come back after that. But thank you so much for all your work, Emily. And I feel like this crisis more than anything, we always knew the role of the county and the importance of the county, but it could not be more clear. All these critical issues that we face, from the county parks to our public health workers, every question on this call, everything we're grappling with every day, it's all in the hands of the county. And I'm just really looking forward to working with everyone on this call so that we can win in November and Nathan's not by himself, 4-1, trying to protect.
No, you're on the agenda for later. You're
Okay,
on the
I'll be
agenda.
back. I'll be
Okay,
back.
all right, fine, okay. So I have some questions that were emailed to me. And let me, okay, so what is being done to sanitize the city? Is there a daily routine to sanitize public places, such as transit, benches, poles, metal surfaces? Anything in place?
Yes, so our transit system has been an area of intense focus for making sure that it is sanitary and safe for the public. And I don't know the specifics, but all of our trains and buses are sanitized on a very regular basis. I think once or twice a day at the least. And so that's definitely been an area of intense focus. On MTS, we've actually stopped, everybody has to board through the rear doors, and there's no swiping of, there's no cash transaction, just to, there's no cash transaction with the bus drivers on the buses, just really to emphasize the need for maintaining social and physical distancing. So there are ways, both product-based, doing sanitation, as well as, taking these necessary steps to just keep keep people further and further apart from each other, so that way you minimize spread of the disease. In terms of, actually, like we saw some photos of folks spraying down sidewalks in Beijing and other other cities. I am not sure if that is occurring here, but all of our restaurants have very detailed protocol. Oh, thank you. This is exactly what I was going for. There's very detailed protocol for businesses that do stay open, and what exactly are they required in terms of posting a social distancing and sanitation protocol, as well as implementing that protocol, having protocol for like Uber Eats and Postmates delivery drivers. So we've got a whole set of regulations really designed around protecting the public and using the best practices that we know available to really, because this is a public health crisis. One resource I'll point you all to is the coronavirus-sd.com website. And they have links to all of the guidance that's gone out to business owners and other entities around these best practices.
Could you give us that again, please?
Coronavirus-sd.com. I'll type it in the chat.
Yeah, there it is. Emily has put it in the chat for us.
Yeah, and that's also where you'll find links to the county's public health orders, lists of essential businesses. We've got a fun pledge that you can take to pledge that you'll stay at home and save lives. Thank you for this. So, this is. We've got weekly calls really focused on our, like I mentioned, we're focused on our homeless, we're focused on our senior living facilities, focused on, providing capacity for our healthcare workers, et cetera. So this has some really good resources. If you want to dig around and find information. And I also just put my name in my email address in the chat if you have any other questions, and I can direct you to where they might be on the website or whatnot. So.
Thank you, Emily. And I just want to bring everyone's attention. The DWC has started a list of resources on its website, and we have also just been sent. This is what we've been sent today by Dante Mocas of Venezuela, who's Dr. Mocas Venezuela is a program coordinator for behavioral health services, County of San Diego Health and Human Service Agency, and this list also will be on our website. So anything that you, Emily, want to add to this, please send it to me and I'll add it onto our list of resources for the county.
Great, will do. And that's really important. Everybody's, this is a very stressful time, like I mentioned, and so having access to these mental health resources and guidance is really helpful. We've got all sorts of phone numbers that you can call for help, and they're all linked on that coronavirus-sd.com website.
Okay, we just had another question. What about the homeless? And then this is the last question, unless I think it's about that they're still on the streets and they are a vector. It's the same problem we had with the hepatitis outbreak. So are there hand washing stations for them? What's available for them?
Yeah,
Did we learn a lesson the last time?
Yes. And so one of the first things, or one thing that we did early on was deploy hand washing stations kind of all around the county. And so again, on that coronavirus at -sd.com website, we've got a map of every location where we've got hand washing stations available, because early on, that was the primary guidance was wash your hands for 20 seconds, and that's a good way to help stop the spread of the coronavirus. The issues around homelessness have, prior to COVID, issues of homelessness were really important to Supervisor Fletcher, and now they are even more so, important. So Supervisor Fletcher serves as vice chair of the regional task force on the homeless, and he was really pleased that we've got a bunch of hotel rooms. I'm not sure the exact number. The data is all on the coronavirus-sd.com website, but the number of hotel rooms available for if you are homeless or otherwise unable to properly shelter at home or quarantine yourself if you are sick or believe that you are sick. We have hotel rooms, and so the way to get into a hotel room is to talk to your, if you're homeless, to talk to your provider, your shelter provider, and they will get you into a hotel room. We're also trying to expand capacity into the convention center, and that is enabling our existing shelters to actually have the space to be able to physically distance. So that way folks are not on top of each other and are able to maintain that 6 feet of physical distancing that has been recommended to us. So, and here's the map of the hand washing stations up on the screen. So thank you. So the convention center has, I think it's close to 1,000 people, and that's a really great example. We were talking earlier about the economic impacts of this crisis, and so that was an example where we're taking care of homeless people, we're providing them with shelter, with medical resources as well, and we also the convention center is also serviced by Unite Here Local 30 members. And so this is a great example of where we're doing something that not only benefits our homeless in San Diego, but also benefits our workers. So that was a really exciting and really positive story that we were able to, provide for, folks that are really hurting. The governor has a target of 15,000 hotel rooms across the state. And just over the weekend, he announced a partnership with Motel 6 to begin, to have an additional 5,000 hotel rooms across the state. So bringing our total up to 20,000 hotel rooms, plus, the ability to actually buy some of these hotels. Now that we have, we're going to be in a very different economic situation. And now that, we've had these goals of getting more homeless into permanent supportive housing, we're kind of afforded an opportunity. Yes, it will be costly, but this is an opportunity to actually find some permanent solution options. The city and county had litigation over redevelopment funds that have long since expired, and the county and the city agreed on a $25 million to be spent on behavioral health in the San Diego County region. And these will go for actually creating permanent places. And so this could be, we buy an old hotel, combine that with some mental health and substance abuse treatment, and actually starting to provide some of the services that we so desperately need. So, and that's why I believe the convention center project has been called Operation Shelter to Home, with a big emphasis on home. How do we find homes at the end of this crisis, rather than putting people back on the streets when this is over?
Susan? Susan? Susan?
Michelle, I'll give you the last question.
No,
It was just a confirmation. It sounded like Emily said, and I wanted to make sure I understood it, that the buses are all free now because you're not putting money in, you don't want to use money, and you have to go in at the back of the bus. So are the buses all being ridden free?
Michelle, just to clarify, they're not doing the normal fare enforcement if you're paying in cash. If you have a Compass card, a TAP card, they still want you to tap that card, but the boarding is through the back of the bus.
So basically, if somebody doesn't have any money or doesn't have a Compass card or a TAP card, because I ride the bus all the time, the only place I can tap it is at the front of the bus. There is no other place. But so what it's sounding like is that all the buses are free, because even if they didn't have a Compass card, what would they do?
Right. And so that's, for all intents and purposes, fare enforcement is still going on, but it's just not, everybody's boarding through the back, and the no cash is changing hands, and so hopefully that clarifies.
No, it's just saying that what you're saying is that everyone is riding the bus for free because there's nobody checking anything and there's no way to tap your card.
MTS would still like you to pay for your fare, or if you're on the trolley, then you can tap your card there.
All right. Okay.
Can I add something, Emily, on the CalFresh?
Yes.
Yeah. This is Widad Shlota. What I understand that the children who were born in United States of undocumented parents and they are under 18, they can receive CalFresh. Also, the Kroc Center on University Avenue offer meals to kids under 18 every day. Churches, of course, offer meals every Saturday at 9 a.m. and at Qualcomm station, distribution of food. And Governor Newsom has issued a budget of $128 million for undocumented people, up to $1,000 per household.
Yeah, these are all, thank you for sharing that. It's, there's a lot of different resources available. And also I'll just add the schools are also providing lunch and breakfast. And so just go on to the school website, or San Diego Unified website, and they have only specific certain distribution locations, but that's also a benefit too.
Daniel has just told us, he works for Hotel Vouchers for All. He's with that group, and they have a fundraiser right now for anyone who's interested. So GoFundMe, and so anyone who's interested in say they don't need their COVID-19 check, might want to give a little bit of it to Hotel Vouchers for All. I think that would be a really good cause. So With that, Emily, we're gonna wrap it up and we're gonna thank you. Everybody, find the clap reaction and give Emily a nice big round of applause. So there's a big clap for you, Emily. Thank you so much for being a good sport.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you all. Thank you all.
And thank you. And any resources, any links that you know we've got, we'll capture the links that you've put in to the chat, and we'll add them onto our resource page. All right. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
And with that, I'm going to ask Brandon if Brandon, before we start on our candidates, Brandon, do you want to talk a little bit more about what your group needs and who actually there are people here who might not know what Western Service Workers, who they actually are. So you might do a little, I'll give you about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, okay? And
Yes,
then that'll include questions from our members. All right, thank you, Brandon. It's now yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Excellent. So as I said before, my name is Brandon McDonald and I'm the operations manager with Western Service Workers Association, which is a membership association that's made up of, by, and for some of the lowest paid workers in the county. And since 1977, our all volunteers efforts have organized a self-help benefits program, where low-income workers work with businesses and professionals, and we're able to distribute now it's about 2 tons of food every week. We have we have a preventive medical benefit. We have volunteer doctors, dentists, and lawyers donate their professional skills to our members free of charge. Our most important benefit, however, has been the benefit of organization. WSWA members fight policies at the root of our poverty. And for instance, after our members led a 7-year struggle to stop water shutoffs, the city of San Diego halted water shutoffs last year. And I think everybody can imagine what this crisis would be like if thousands of San Diegans had no water to wash or flush. Right now, our members, like I said, have been experiencing a severe economic crisis. And so many of our jobs were in the tourist industry, and these jobs have vanished. We're open every single day fighting the huge lack of resources, though due to shelter-in-place policies, we're finding new ways to organize. And we urgently need volunteers who can do a few things. Number one, do food deliveries. So this is not like talking to people or anything like that, but just dropping off food, picking up food and dropping it off. Benefit advocacy to help people with filling out like unemployment forms or fighting exorbitant utility bills. That's 2. Number 3, we need a mountain of food. So you could do a food collection amongst your friends, your coworkers. There's this Nextdoor app that a lot of people have been doing. And we need support of all kinds, of course. I have a number behind me. So don't know if everybody can see that. I'm learning technology just like everybody else. In any
Brandon,
case,
we're having a hard time with it.
can
Brandon,
really go along with.
we're having a hard time.
Sorry. Okay, so the phone number is 619-238-9763, and we're open every day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So if there's any way you can help, please give us a call.
All right, thank you, Brandon. And I think that's we have actually passed the Women's Club actually did a resolution last year to support not shutting off water to the poorest, to these very low income people, because we need everyone. We need everyone to have water, to wash their hands, to bathe, no matter whom they are. Water is a human right, and everyone should have the right to water within the home. So thank you, and I think we're going to move next. We're we're going to go right into our candidates. Tara's not here, so we are going to, Tara, she'll be back. We'll go right into Nora Vargas. Nora went through, this race is, she's running for County Board of Supervisors, District 1 in the South Bay. It goes all the way from Point Loma all the way down to the border. She would be my supervisor if she were elected. And I live in Point Loma at the very end of the tip. And she is also the endorsed candidate for the Women's Club. So we welcome Nora as our endorsed candidate.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Susan, for organizing this. I think everybody can hear me. First, I just wanted to start off and say that I'm so happy to see all your beautiful faces and to know that all of you are healthy. I know some of the folks on here, we're in different situations. I'm going to do a shout out for Andrea because I'm really happy that she's okay now. And but I think all of us in one way or another have been impacted in the last couple of weeks. And I'm not sure how much time I have, Susan, but I'm thinking, how much do I have? Like 2-3 minutes?
I'll give you 5.
I just want to be mindful of people's time. But anyway, I'm really grateful for all of your support. We are living absolutely, we've heard this before, in unprecedented times. And, when I decided to run for the Board of Supervisors, I was really running under the auspices of the need to really build stronger and healthier communities together, because I know that healthcare is the foundation for all of us being able to have a good quality of life. Without good health, we have seen now, it's tough to continue on in our jobs. It's difficult to be able to take care of our kids and so on and so on. So for me, I think this pandemic has really demonstrated the importance of elections and how representation really matters, because we know that this public healthcare crisis has really impacted our most vulnerable populations. And so for me, I am going to work really hard. It's 197 days before the election. I know it sounds crazy because most of us are so focused on taking care of our communities right now that it's hard to think about election day. But I think as leaders, we have to be thinking of both things right now. And what I did as soon as, they started asking for safe at home and for folks to step back, I went ahead and put my campaign on hold. And my team and I went ahead and we've been working together with the community to bring resources. One of the big issues that we saw immediately with the county, and I will say that I'm really happy that Supervisor Fletcher is there because he's been leading exceptionally and in partnership with the governor, doing a fantastic job taking that leadership on from the beginning. But there's a lot that we still can do, right? So the in-language information, I think some people asked about CalFresh and whether it's accessible to our communities that are undocumented or our refugee communities. And so I think there's still a lot of work to be done from that lens of somebody who is representing a district like District 1, which is a district that not only hasn't had a person of color represent them, but also somebody who has been a champion on the ground in the community. And so what I've done is we have been able to, we created something called Conexiones, which is an opportunity for us to share information on Facebook Live around unemployment, around all the issues that are impacting our community, and we're doing it in a bilingual way, with bilingual in English and Spanish, so that we can get our resources out to the community as quickly as possible. There's one of the issues that I talked about during my campaign was the issue of food insecurity, and that continues to be a big challenge. I happen to currently serve as the president of the governing board at Southwestern College, and Vice President Nader is here on the call as well. But we've been working diligently with our communities on the ground, because the reality is that this is a big issue. I mean, we had 1,000 people that we served about 2 weeks ago, where we were able to give out food, and there were people still waiting in line who didn't have access to food. in the South Bay, right? Because you have to remember, sometimes for our folks in our communities in the South Bay, it's tough to get to Qualcomm Stadium or to get to any of these other areas. And so we want to figure out ways how to bring those resources to, specifically to the South Bay. And then the other part is you know, the inequities of the system are so real, right? People want people to get in a car and go get the food. Well, some of our folks don't have access to cars, and they don't have, I mean, by the time you get on a bus and get there on time, there were people who were in line at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so we have to really look at the inequities of the infrastructures of our systems and really think about what the needs are, our communities are, and work around it. And so I'm not, this is not a judgment about what the county hasn't done. This is about what the county can still do. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities. What we're gonna need in our next supervisor is somebody who can actually hit the ground running. And I'm not waiting to do that. I'm not waiting to become a supervisor before I can do this work. I've already started working with some of our key nonprofit organizations in the South Bay to create a road to recovery proposal that includes policy initiatives so that we can, as soon as I get elected, I can make sure that we're executing some of this work. That includes additional grants and resources for our communities. What are the policy implications? Because the economy is going to be impacted for at least 3 years. That's what we keep hearing from our national experts, right? And so as we are doing the work right now that needs to happen so that people are healthy and safe and people are staying at home, and we know there's some people who want us to go out already, but I think the more we do what we're doing right now, the better chances are that we have to recovering. And so, you know, what I say to folks is like, people talk about how hard it is, you know, people want to go out and want to do these things, but the reality is that this pandemic has demonstrated the inequities of this system and how bad it is for some people in our communities. And so the issues that we were fighting for, that I've been fighting for, that our community has been fighting for years around social justice, I think are being elevated because of this pandemic. And so we have a great opportunity to really do great things. And so I'm excited, cautiously, you know, optimistic. We had 9 people in the race. Election night was tougher, but we knew that we had done a lot of the work on the ground, and so we came back and 19% of the votes out of 9 candidates, we made it. And so now there's a clear distinction between the 2 candidates that are running, and I'm going to run my race like I did the race before, which is, you know, talking to voters, making sure we're elevating the issues that really matter for our communities. And I'm not just going to make history as the first Latina, the first immigrant, the first, you know, person from our community on the ground, but what I really want to do is make sure that, you know, our county has a social justice champion on that board, because that's what we need on this board of supervisors. Enough is enough. And I'm excited, and I have the best campaign team ever. We actually have some really cool stuff happening. We're doing, we kicked it off, and now we're going to be doing meet and greets and fundraisers, because we have to make sure that we get all this done. And so we're doing the parallel work of working in the community, being a resource to our communities, as well as making sure that we are continuing this fight, because although 197 days seems like really far away, it's actually around the corner. So if anybody wants to phone bank, anybody wants to do anything, let us know. And I'll put it on the chat. It's you know, noravargas.com, and I think most of you have my number. But I just want to say thank you, because so many people from this club actually came and knocked on doors and volunteered, and everybody thought I was crazy, because they said, why would anybody be walking precincts in a district that's so big, right? 600,000 people. But I know our communities, and our communities need to hear from us in order for change to happen. And so, you know, I was outspent, but I think that in the end, the heart of the community and what really matters, I think, came across. And so here we are, and I'm going to need your help now more than ever. And so I'm looking forward to election day. So thank you.
So Nora, I have a question. How are you going to transition from a ground field game to a virtual field game?
So we're doing some of that work already. We have a winning, you know, we've created a winning plan, which includes making sure that we are connecting to communities, you know, the typical stuff through phones and coordinating with folks. but I'll tell you, I think most of you remember that my job that I have had until November that before I left to work full time on the campaign was a vice president of community and government relations for Planned Parenthood. And so I've been very fortunate to work on national campaigns that are solely focused on vote by mail campaigns. So I've actually done this work before. I've done it in special elections. I've done it in Oregon. I've done it in other areas where I know what it takes to do this work in a very different way. And so I'm excited about it. I mean, I think talk about, you know, the importance of representation, right? Lorena's vision and Secretary Padilla's vision of making sure that everybody has access to a vote by mail and that they don't have to pay for a stamp really made a difference. I mean, we had almost 50% of people vote, which is not a lot, but it is a lot for our county, right? In this past election in a primary, even though it's a presidential election. I think there's a lot of work to be done. And so my team and I are transitioning. I think all of you know, we had a really amazing, I think, if I say so myself, a really good social media campaign throughout the primary, and we were able to reach a lot of folks that way. But I think in the end, it's that one-on-one contact. So I'm doing a lot of relying on the foundation that we've created through the primary to take us to the November election. Any other questions?
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Anyone? If not, thank you, Nora. We really appreciate your, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Kate, who are you pointing to?
I have a question.
Oh, okay, Kate. Go ahead.
Kate or Kenya?
Kenya.
Oh, okay. Hi, good evening. I hope everyone's doing well. One of the things that I'm really concerned about, I have a background in behavioral health, in addition to being a licensed marriage and family therapist. And unfortunately, Black people continuously are not at the table and are continuously underrepresented, having disparity issues that are really bad. It's happening even recently in the South Bay. And one of the things that people are asking me, I have a lot of friends that live in the South Bay that are Black, they're not poor, they have 6, 7 figure incomes, but there are a number who throughout the county who might have more financial challenges. It's important to make sure that whoever is the supervisor is inclusive to Black people. All of them have let me down, all of them. Okay, as a Black woman, as a Black mother of twin sons. When people ask me why you would be different, what should I tell them? Because a lot of them are feeling the same exact thing.
No, and they have a right to feel that way. I think that we have failed many of our communities, but especially our African-American communities. One of the things about being, a governing board member at Southwestern College is really understanding that you represent everyone in our communities, right? And I will say that, at Planned Parenthood, I was one of the leading folks who created the maternal health initiative specifically for our African-American community and led that charge with Holly Mitchell in the state Senate to ensure that that legislation moved forward. It was watered down, but it was something that I cared for and knew that it was important. At Planned Parenthood, when I became the first vice president for community and government relations, I actually created the first initiative for Planned Parenthood in Southeast to go into our African-American communities to really address some of the healthcare disparities that our communities were having. And so the inequities of our system are real. I mean, I was on that BAPAC call on Sunday, was Saturday or Sunday, when the doctor was sharing some of what was happening. And I think there's still a lot of more work to be done. I don't claim to be an expert, but I tell you, I have people like Councilwoman Monica Montgomery, I have Genevieve Jones, I have a lot of women and people of color, specifically African-American women, who are working with me and creating a platform that is an inclusive platform to make sure that we're champions on the Board of Supervisors. So I feel really proud of that work. And I don't think we've done enough. I think that you have the inequities around healthcare, specifically in the county of San Diego, are real to the African American community. And so it will be part of my platform. It has been part of my platform, and I am looking forward to being your champion as well.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you so much for being here. Kenya, and Kenya, thank you. Thank you for being here also. Since Tara Lawson-Remer is not, she's putting her baby to bed, I'm going to go jump right in. We have some candidates that are here, and so I'm gonna give. I'm looking to who to start with. Which candidate wants to start? Joe LaCava, you see a timer. You're gonna get 1 minute. Joe, do you want to start? Because I know you're here, and I'll find the next person to start. Okay, Joe.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you to the club for organizing this initial meeting on Zoom. My name is Joe LaCava. I'm running for City of San Diego Council District 1. I believe I was one of 2 candidates rated as qualified by the club, and I appreciate that. I know that helped me on the campaign, and very honored to have finished first in a very competitive and crowded race. If you haven't heard, 3 of the candidates of my opponents have now endorsed me. I know we're all itching to get on the campaign trail, but that's just not the right thing to be doing right now. So we're focusing on, like others have, on doing wellness calls, trying to provide meals to those who have a greater need, and focus more about the safety and health of our community. As others have said, this is really an eye-opener for those of us who didn't realize that what we need to do is work on social equity and health equity across our entire city, and not just the individual needs of our district. And I look forward to getting on with that work. But thank you again for the club. Joe LaCava, running for San Diego City Council District 1.
Okay, John, I can't see the people now, so that so I don't know who's next. Kate Bishop, I know that you were next. I think you were next in the lineup. So Kate is going to be running. Kate, you're next.
Am I muted still, or can you hear me? We good?
We can hear you.
Excellent. Hi, good to see everybody's faces. Kate Bishop, I'm running for Chula Vista Elementary School Board. It's tough to be in this world turned upside down for a lot of us, I know, and I have kids, so my campaign has very much been on hold to be not only caretaker but teacher to them now, and I've been commiserating with a lot of other parents, and I think it's really important to focus a lot of resources on mental health support for parents, especially in times like this. So I've been trying to work with different groups of parents to kind of help them through all of this, and do so for myself as at the same time. I think going forward, we're going to need to continue to support the mental health of parents and create better, stronger communities between school and parents in the future. Hopefully we'll get that endorsement down the line, but right now we're in a big holding pattern. So thanks so much.
His opponent on his heels, even opponent as well known as Joe Biden is not as well defined as he will become the fall. Biden pushing back, of course, with the worries of many Democrats ringing in his ears. Don't let yourself get swept up in. David is going to be more on the question.
Susan, you're muted.
Thank you. We're having a little duel. Who's unmuting me, and then what happens is I end up totally muted. All right, Andrea, you're next. And we're so glad you feel better.
Thank you. Yeah, so I know a few people have mentioned it. I have, recovered at 90% from COVID-19, and that was an interesting experience. I know I want to thank everybody that reached out to me. That was really great to, see an outpour of support. But I'm a candidate for Chula Vista City Council in District 4. I was rated acceptable by this club, and I'm the Democratic candidate going into the general. Lucky for us, not only did District 4 vote, the majority of the district voted for a Democrat, but they voted for a Latina. So we're looking great looking into the general. My district, District 4, has been very gravely affected because a lot of these people that live here are people that are in essential jobs. So they're the people at grocery stores, they're the people that are truck drivers, or they're all these people that we're seeing out there having to expose themselves. So what I'm telling everybody when I'm talking to anybody, it's those people that are out there, please remember to be kind and to be respectful and grateful for all the work that they're doing that we're not doing out there. So thank you guys. And I just wanted to hope everybody stays safe and healthy.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. Can you guys hear me now? Thank you. Okay, so next, Doug Case, do you want to talk, speak to us about what Tony Atkins is doing on the state level?
Sure. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Doug Case. I'm the Political Affairs Director for Senate President Pro Tem Tony Atkins, and I'll be very brief. You may have seen in the news last week that the governor appointed the Pro Tem to his task force on business and jobs recovery. That's the one that's being chaired by Tom Steyer, and so she'll be very busy with that. Even though the legislature is in recess, she and her staff are very busy. Everybody is working from home, and so and there's been a lot of constituent services, as you can imagine, being called upon at this point in time. The legislature is scheduled to go back on May 4th. That may or may not happen on that date, but they do have a June constitutional deadline for passing the budget. The governor normally sends out a revised budget in May. You can take the budget I discussed with the club earlier and take it to shred it up, because obviously things have changed quite a bit, and there won't be any increases in things except for those things that relate to the COVID-19, to homeless issues and wildfire protection. And we won't really know from the May revise what our revenues are going to be, because a lot of income tax and other taxes are being deferred until later. And so the legislature will pass a baseline budget by the constitutional deadline in June, but then there will also have an August revised this year, and will likely have a revised budget in September. The good thing is that the governor and the voters of California have put aside money in a rainy day fund for things like this, and so we are better off than last time we had a crisis.
Thank you, Doug. So Raul Campillo, you're next. Raul, are you there? Okay.
Yes, I am. Thanks, Susan. It's good to see everyone. My name is Raul Campillo, candidate for San Diego City Council District 7. I was honored to have the club's endorsement before the primary. Very grateful for all the help so many people on this call gave me. Came in first in the District 7 primary, trying to flip it from red to blue. Currently sits Scott Sherman in the seat, and hoping so that we can take this back in the Democratic column to support the next mayor and have a even far bigger supermajority going into 2021. We know that our economy is going to be changed quite a bit, and all the circumstances that go around that. Since the election, going back to work at the city attorney's office, where I'm a deputy city attorney, I was moved full-time onto the gun violence restraining order team, where I'm sure you've read in the news the number of issues regarding depression, suicide threats, domestic violence, also incredibly, unfortunately, are through the roof. And so every day working from home, luckily, but still doing a lot to review reports and get restraining orders issued so that we can keep guns out of the hands of people who are unfortunately doing really poorly right now, given all the circumstances. It's a sad thing, but I'm happy to be on that team and doing what I can to solve that. And as Joe LaCava and others mentioned earlier, I'm helping out with the Vouchers for All on Thursday night. I'll be helping with the dinners there and encourage everyone to get involved in that as well. Really appreciate your time, Susan, and all the club, and thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Raul. So next is Tim Nader. Tim?
Yeah, needed to unmute. Thank you, Susan. Thanks for a moment of your time. I think everyone here knows me. I'm Tim Nader. I am running for Superior Court Judge. My race went to a runoff. I am one of the 2 candidates who made the runoff, and I am the only Democrat in the race and the candidate endorsed by the Democratic Party. I realize people's attention is focused not only obviously on the pandemic right now, but also on the presidential race, and with good reason. But you take a look at what happened in Wisconsin recently, and it should be evident why it's important that we have judges who decide cases on facts and evidence and public welfare and the Constitution, and not on political ideology. I always like to make sure people know I work for the California Attorney General. That's Javier Becerra, not William Barr. My opponent, who works for the U.S. Attorney's Office, says we're keeping him busy with 70+ lawsuits. I say that's good. If you want to help our campaign, please go to timnader.com or timnaderforjudge@gmail.com. Countywide race is going to be very challenging, but with your support, we're going to fill that seat. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Elizabeth Romero is next. And then after Elizabeth, I think Tiffany is a candidate. And then I think, okay, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yes, hi everyone. Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Romero, and thank you for your time and the work that you do to help elect such great candidates who are on this call. I am a candidate for Senate District 28 in a special election, and that's why I'm coming to you today as a guest of also Michelle, who has been just a phenomenal friend and neighbor, helping us reach as many voters as possible. I am running in a special election this May 12th. And while many people have referenced the fact that they're not able to continue their political campaigns, I am in a very different circumstance. The governor has called for an all vote by mail election. And that is the first time that this district, which covers Riverside County, from the vineyards of Temecula all through the Avenue 74 unincorporated communities, the Coachella Valley, all the way to the Arizona border, which is close to 6,400 square miles. And so this district is very winnable and flippable by a Democrat like myself. I've spent over 20 years serving our region. I actually also served your region. I worked under Nora at Planned Parenthood of the Pacific Southwest, helping advance women's reproductive health and justice. I currently am an assistant vice chancellor of governmental and community relations at UC Riverside, and also an elected official on the Riverside County Board of Education. So the reason I'm coming today is, as some of you may be home or anxious to get involved in a political campaign that can truly make a difference today, my race is 22 days away. And because it's an all vote by mail election, that means that election day is today and every day up until the 22nd. So I'd like to just ask for your support and hope that you can get encouraged and you can learn more. I know someone just posted my website about our campaign and our race, and hope you can get involved, even to make 5 calls, 10.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. So Tiffany is next, and then after Tiffany is Jose. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Tiffany Boyd Hodgson. I am running for Vallecitos Water Board, Division 5, a seat up here in San Marcos. It's right here in the heart of San Marcos. And others have acknowledged how difficult it is to be campaigning right now. It is very difficult. It's very difficult to launch a campaign right now. But Democracy does go on. I am fundraising in between making phone calls to my community, reaching out and doing wellness checks. And it is a tough time. I'm running against a hardline Trump supporter who has been on the water board for 8 years. He has given developers kickbacks and passed those savings or those costs on to the ratepayers. So a vote for me will end that practice, will stabilize water prices rather, and bring a Democrat to the board. There are currently no Democrats on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. All right, next is Jose. Jose.
Hello.
Okay, now, okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jose Rodriguez. I'm a candidate for National City Council. The race this November, we didn't have primaries in National City, so it's likely to be a very crowded field. I think I visited the club in January. Some folks might remember, but National City is a very special place. 60% of which are Latino families, about 20% Filipino, and it's made up of working families and retirees for the most part. Nearly 50% of the city are Democratic voters, and so it's represented by people that come from working families, for working families, and make sure that issues of working families are at the forefront, like wages, like rent stabilization. I mean, one thing that I've found out from this pandemic is the need to have good jobs, and folks that are really struggling to pay rent. We have to be very proactive and make sure that people are not evicted during this time. And so I am somebody that listens to my community because I was raised in working class families. And so hopefully I am able to earn your support in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jose, your video wasn't on, so it would have been good to turn. What? Are you're on a cell phone? I'm sorry, because that would have helped us put a name and a face together, so that we might remember who you are.
I'm going to include my website on the chat.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other candidates that we missed? Anyone that we missed? Good. Okay. So we are, Tara did not, Tara's not back.
Susan, I think Luana is there.
Luana had to leave.
Okay.
And if you can't see the chat, Michelle, we'll read it to you later. It's a whole nother meeting on the chat, which is unfortunate for those who do call in on the phone and don't have any visual way to see it. So I'd like to just turn it over right now to for officer reports. Rosamond, do you want to just give a quick account of the donations that we've made this month and how much we have in the bank? Rosamond?
Okay, here I am. We have $5,923.68 approximately. We've made no donations this month, but we have received more members in. So that's been a plus. We haven't done much this past month because we didn't even have a meeting last March. So we didn't vote on any donations to anybody in particular. So maybe this is the month to start it.
I think we have some good candidates. Some good candidates to not political candidates, but some good social service candidates.
Social service candidates. One of the ones was just speaking. Brandon was speaking for his organization. It would be, I think, very good of our club to go ahead and donate some to that. I see Michelle.
Okay, so we're going to go to the reactions. We're going to do a quick, those of you who do a thumbs up if you agree or a thumbs down if you don't. I will do only members though. Okay, I have to see so I can count. I'm going to do a thumbs up on me. Okay, So Rose, Kathy, do you, okay. Do you guys know where the reactions are down in the very bottom of the bar? There's a thing that says reaction, and you can go thumbs up or thumbs down. Or if you really can't do that, just stick your thumb up. Okay.
What are you voting on, Susan?
Donating some money to Brandon Western Service Workers.
Oh, okay.
And this is for members only, and some of you have walked away. Okay, thanks. I think I've got a good sense. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I got you, Yvonne. 12, 13, 14, 14 out of 29. Let's see, that was pretty good. So do I hear any objections? Any objections? Okay. All right. Okay, so we will approve that. And
how much are we going to approve, Susan? Do we?
Let's do. What about 250? And we'll take other suggestions too from some of the others of you. I think Point Loma last month. I love to spend money. Point Loma gave money to the ACLU and some other things. So we do have some money. So this is how we spend your money. And if you have a suggestion for whom that you think that we should donate it to, we would really appreciate that. We try to be as diverse in our donations as possible. We were the original sponsors for Angela DeJoseph's Women of Color Roar breakfast, and we have been sponsors for the Women's March, for March for Black Women, for Fancy Girls, for all kinds of different smaller organizations that where just a small donation makes a big impact. We don't have a lot of money, but we have a little, and we think that it's our mission to support women and do things that will help women progress.
So the donation will be 250. Okay.
Okay.
That's agreeable.
Everyone seems to be nodding their heads, so I can't.
We could do an acclamation vote. You know, all in favor say aye, all at once.
Okay, I could. All right, I can.
You can unmute everybody.
I can unmute everyone. Everyone is unmuted, except for some. Okay, so some of you are still muted. Lori, we did, and I'm not really sure why, but it's your choice.
Okay.
So you have to unmute yourself if you've chosen to be muted. So everyone, is everyone agreeable to donating $250 to the Western Service Workers?
Aye.
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 Okay, all those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed? Okay, all right. So it's agreed. All right, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Is Brandon still here? Okay. He's dropped off. He will be happy to know that. All right, Becca Fielding Miller, do you want to report? Becca had a very
hi, you guys timed it perfectly. Esther wants to say hello. Hi. Esther,
hi,
can you say hello?
Esther.
Hello. Yeah. So
You were published in the newspaper.
What's that?
You were published in the Union Tribune.
I was
as an
published in the
expert.
Union Tribune as an expert. Yeah, so my day job is I'm a professor of infectious disease and global public health, and daycare is closed. So life has been a little intense for me lately. Yeah, so I published a piece in the Union Tribune about the science behind social distancing. It is a really good idea and we should keep doing it. It's working. You can see it in the data. So I know it's really unpleasant, but it's definitely saving lives. So let's please keep doing it. I'm also working on some other analyses. Esther says hello. And one thing that we can see is that I think several people have brought up today that people who don't have a fluent English speaker at in the home seem to be at higher risk. So I think it's really important that we all think about all the things candidates have brought up today in terms of making sure that we are doing work that reaches out to people who are really living at the margins, people who don't speak English, people who are undocumented, people who are unhoused. Yeah, and I am also more than happy to answer anybody's questions around public health or infectious disease or physical distancing, either in chat or over email, because I've been doing that a lot lately.
So,
and we have had people taking us up on the childcare grant because daycare is closed. So that definitely still stands. And if you know of anybody who needs a little extra help with childcare, especially as things start to open up again, please, please, please share that grant.
Thank you, Becca. And then Kate Bishop had a very successful event recently. She's our social chair. Kate.
Yes, thank you to all the people that made it on, was that Friday? Time doesn't have any meaning anymore, but Friday we had a happy hour.
It was Wednesday.
Was Wednesday?
Yeah.
I knew that. Wednesday we had our first via Zoom happy hour for the Democratic Women's Club, and it was a Kentucky Derby theme. So thank you to the women and men who showed up and had fabulous hats on and joined us for just a very nice, chill conversation, kind of checking in with each other. And it's something that we would like to do again. So look for your email about another Zoom conversation. I always like to do themes just because I'm a silly person and I always want to play dress up with my friends. So please join us in the future. We will do more. We encourage you to bring a tall glass of fabulous beverage and join us for a chat. We'll look in your email for an upcoming event for that. Thanks so much to those who came.
Thank you, Kate. Kathy, do you want to, do you have a report? You've been doing stuff and I think you might want to report on what you're doing.
Well, a couple of the things that I've been thinking about and working on is really making an intentional effort to get everyone who isn't already registered to be a permanent absentee voter to do that. So I think that's one of the things that we should do as a club is have a goal of having our entire roster of members registered as male voters. So we're seeing about getting that form printed up and being able to get it to people because it's not something they can do online. They have to print out the physical form, sign it, and then return it. So that's something that I've been working on. And let's see, I've also been doing wellness calls for candidates. And the one thing I will say about phone banking right now is that people are answering their phones and they do want to talk on the phone. So that's great. And the other thing is that people are doing reasonably well, surprisingly well. Most people are saying that they're doing okay, which, I'm grateful for that.
Thank you, Kathy. And I hope everyone who's doing calls, wellness calls, candidate calls, is making sure that people are registered to vote by mail because we do not know what's going to happen in November. And we want to make sure that our voters are registered to vote by mail. Thank you, Kathy. I think that Tara Lawson-Remer didn't return. So we're gonna move right on. Let's finish the officers report. Is there any unfinished business that any of you can think of? As a president's report, I want to direct you all to the email that I sent out about the book that we are your executive board with Dr. Miller's help chose the perfect predator, it's excuse me, the perfect predator, and the author has agreed to come. So she's agreed to be at our book club. We don't have a date yet, and as soon as we get a date, we will let you know. But it's a fascinating book. For those of us who have started reading it, The Perfect Predator, I sent links out in that email, and I will it'll be posted. We'll post it on the webpage for you. It's an excellent book. She's a professor at UCSD, and it's a riveting story about how she had to save her husband's life. Our next meeting is May the 18th, and if you registered for this, you can use the same link. So that's to let you know that. And let's see what time it is, because I had wanted to, oh, it's 8:15. Yes. Oh, Luana, oh, thank you, John. Luana has rejoined the meeting. Luana, do you want to speak for a few minutes, for a minute? Luana?
Hello, I'm here.
Luana.
I just wanted to say hi to everybody and thank you for all the support I got during the primary. And I'm looking forward to your support towards the general. And my first fundraiser is going to be for my birthday on the 9th of May. So anyone who's interested in supporting or participating, it's super easy. It's drluanarichmond.com. I appreciate it because, as you all know, this new normal, and I'm doing Tuesday chats at 1 p.m. on Hangouts Meet about navigating the new normal, where I'm inviting parents, teachers, administrators, and community members to just share their experiences and ideas and tools and techniques and challenges to help us all navigate this new way of life together, and maybe identify some best practices that we can carry forward for after it's all over.
Thanks, Luana. And Luana has put in the chat, she's put that information in the chat for us. And so if you scroll up in the chat, you'll find it. Is there any other candidate who's, all right, there's something I wanted to just try as an experiment since we've got a little bit of time. I want to put you all into a breakout room. So what I'm going to do is kind of crazy, and we're going to 5 of you in a room together, your own private room, and you have 5 minutes, and it's going to be all random, and get to know the people that are in that room with you. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them silly questions about how are you getting groceries. Exchange information, things that might be helpful. So you'll get a warning that the 5 minutes is almost over, and then you'll be thrown back in this in the main room. All right, so I'm going to assign. We've got 31 participants. I'm going to put you. Oh, okay. So you may have a little bit more. You may have 6 people. Okay. Are you ready to go? 6 participants per room. Are you ready? Here you go. What? Okay, bye. Okay, so Megan, so I'm not in a breakout room. Megan, are you in a breakout?
Good job, Susan.
Okay, so everybody else is going to be appearing in a minute.
Are we really? It says live on YouTube.
Oh, well, it says because we are. Oh, every Democratic club, Sarah, don't look like that. Sarah looks like she was in Alice in Wonderland. She was someplace and then she was someplace else. Sarah,
Yeah.
all right. So every Democratic club meeting has to be open to the public. So the only way that we can do that to satisfy is to make our meetings open on YouTube. So did everyone enjoy that? Was that fun?
That was really good.
That was fun. Yeah,
Yes,
enjoyed it.
yes.
Okay. So we'll do that. We'll do that on each one of our meetings. We'll do that again because I think it helps us actually get to know people that we would not have gotten to know otherwise, and it gets us, conversations and spend a little time together, even though we're so far apart.
Well, it also, because normally you get to socialize when you come to a club meeting, you have like the half hour beforehand to greet people and talk to people. And in a Zoom meeting, you don't really have that opportunity. So this kind of replaces that to give you a chance to have some, personal non-business interaction with other members.
Right.
And so I think it's a good idea.
Right, which is I think what we all need in this particular time. So with that, I will remind you all that our next meeting is May the 18th, and I hope to see you all there. If you registered, I think that those links, John, am I correct? Those links stay the same and you just use the same link. That link is personal to you, and you won't have to, it won't be so hard the next time that you try to come in. And so everyone, good night, stay healthy, stay safe. Yes.
Can I just make a reminder about the census? Please, everybody on this call, please make sure that you yourself have had your census filled out and that you promote it everywhere you are, because we only have till the end of May that they've extended it, but we really need to get it done. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. And with that, I'm going to end the meeting and thank everyone for coming. Goodbye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Susan.
Bye.
You,
everybody.
Thanks, Susan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Rose.
Good job, Susan.
Thank you.
Good job.
I was